start.
Hey guys, I hope all of you have done well in your CSAT paper. The initial reaction of the CSAT paper is also not that positive. It's been on the tougher side. That's what.
Definitely, sir.
Yep, that's what we are hearing, right? So we'll have to analyze before we can give anything conclusive on CSAT. It has just ended, right? But it does seem like the cutoffs are going to go down because of CSAT being tougher. So earlier we were, in the last video, we said something around 95, assuming that CSAT is going to be the same as last year. But now, since CSAT has gotten up, we'll have to bring down the cutoff and somewhere around 85 plus minus.
85 to 90 is something that we are expecting for 2025 paper. Yeah. So as pointed out, the geography questions in the GS were a bit lengthy. And also in the case of CSAT as well, the comprehensive as well as the max paper, a lot of sports questions are included, making it the paper very lengthy. So I guess, as Sir have pointed out, the CSAT has made the whole the process bit difficult. Also, the cutoff would be going down below maybe 90 or something. That is something that we are hoping.
Perfect. During our analysis, at least the one understanding that has changed in the last 3-4 hours is that polity has been tricky.
Polity has been definitely tricky, sir. Especially the schedule 1 question. With regard to UPC, you can never be sure. Like we had the 2024 question, it was a blunder made by UPC. We are never sure what UPC has in for us in case of polity questions. Yes,
so overall, I think till this point we have only one controversial question. Rest of the questions, we believe that UPSC and the key that we have come out with, they are going to be on the same page.
Definitely.
And for that one controversial question also, we have significant logic to back the answer that we are going with. So there's only one controversial question. Yep. As we were discussing, polity has been, वो ऊपर से देख के लग रहा था कि all familiar topics are there, right? But once you start digging deep, once we start preparing for the discussion, एक question का जब हम discussion prepare करते हैं, that's when we come to realize that these questions are deeper, right?
Deeper. It requires a lot of knowledge. It requires a deeper understanding. And some questions have been very tricky, but it has been taken from the Constitution or from the Lakshmigan. So we have a direct answer to that. But for the Schedule 6 wala question, we can never be sure about the question.
Schedule 5-1.
Yeah, Schedule 6 wala. Yeah, Schedule 5 wala question.
5-1. So polity has been one surprise.
Yes, sir.
And with respect to international organizations and summits also, a lot of details have been asked which have been like incorrect.
Definitely,
right?
sir.
So if you are going with traditional knowledge where you sort of want to go with some elimination technique and say, okay, this option is going to be right. You can get stuck in those arenas.
I guess positive approach is something that, in the 2025 paper have gone wrong at sometimes, especially in the BIMSTEC question, UPSC doesn't want us to know that whether Nepal or India comes under the tourism sector. And that is something that UPSC have made it wrong this time. And also, I guess a lot of current affairs questions have came in the international affairs as well. Regarding the BIMSTEC, it was current affairs regarding NATO, regarding, I guess, AIB and AIBB wala question also. So a lot of current affairs questions are coming. And also, mostly when we compare the previous years, a lot of regional conflicts have come into game. But then this year, I guess the regional conflicts questions is also very less.
So, Srijay, what is in keys से बच्चों का कितने marks बनने चाहिए? So that they start focusing on mains. So what should be like the lower limit? If that's the score they are hitting, then they should definitely start preparing for mains.
So I guess in regard to UPSC, everything is unpredictable. As we have discussed in the previous video, there have been a 14 marks difference when compared to the official, the key of Civilsdaily as well. All the other academies out there. So we can never be sure, or we can never tell students that this is a lower limit or this is the upper limit. Definitely there's an upper limit, but then regard to lower limit, we can never be sure. Maybe UPSC would take 5 questions away. We can never be sure in case of UPSC. But then I guess if you're getting close to 80 and all, you can actually start preparing for mains.
Probably less than 80.
Yeah, probably less than 80. Yeah, we can never be sure.
75, 70.
Yeah, 75-ish people can actually start preparing for mains as well. Yeah, definitely so.
Yeah. So absolutely, Srijay is absolutely right. think about this, right?
Yeah.
Last year, close to 3
14.
questions were incorrect. So students who thought that, okay, they are 6 marks over and above, 6 marks, 8 marks over and above the cutoff, they would have lost out, right? For no fault of theirs. So all those things keep happening. So if you're making, 75,
Yes, sir.
70, 75-ish, don't lose hope, don't lose heart, don't leave out on this time, right? If you say that, acha, mera hone wala nahi hai, and then for 2 weeks you are off, you are cut out, and then not preparing for your mains, that's going to be a huge blunder.
Yeah, especially one more thing that I have to point out is that for this mains, we have only 90 days. I guess this is the least number of days for a main schedule. So if you are losing out on 12 days, I mean 2 weeks or something, then it's going to cost you very dearly. So take a day break off, look on the keys tomorrow, and you need to start preparing from next day itself.
Absolutely. So because you have less number of days, you cannot afford to sit back and
Yes, sir.
think about the fact that, okay, I'm anyway not going to clear, let's just relax and rejuvenate. वो सब thinking आप लोग हटा दीजिए. 70s में भी अगर आपका score बन रहा है, you should bounce back.
Yes, sir.
And start preparing from tomorrow itself. You don't have a day to waste. We have seen these things year after year. Last minute studies matter, right? आपको जितना भी लोग कहें कि कुछ नहीं फर्क पड़ता, last 1 week, it's about a long term, taking a long term view. आपने last 4-5 years में जो पढ़ा है, all that matters. Last 10 days don't matter. Last 2 months don't matter. Don't believe all of that.
Yes.
Right? So improvements हर जगह होते हैं. We, even in our interview program, the first mock that we see of students, we go like, okay, they are not cut out for this.
Yes, sir.
Right? By the third mock, they have tremendously improved.
Significantly
improved. Absolutely. And mains में तो इससे भी और ज़्यादा होता है. Interview is more personality and other things. Mains is written. So improvements are easily visible. If you have a solid plan and you know where you are lacking, you can very quickly make up, right? And unlike prelims, mains is a little bit more predictable. Yes, I would say
yes, sir.
Prelims may, even if you are even if you are very close to identifying themes, the options are so complicated, yes, the questions become so tough that it becomes a tricky game. But mains is, you have more room to play. So if you are scoring in 70s, don't second guess. Don't go in that mode that I won't be clearing the exam, right? You have to be in an aggressive mode for till at least till the results are there.
Yes,
be in an aggressive mode, right?
Yes, sir.
So let's go ahead with the discussion. I think the discussion that we had in the morning and the one that we are having right now, there aren't significant changes in the questions. Polity wale mein probably we'll go in a little bit more depth, but all the geography questions and economics questions, the discussion that we had in the morning, we have gotten most of them right anyway, right? So,
yes,
Srijay, over to you, right?
So, thank you, Shikhar sir. So, I'll be dealing with the history questions. First of all, let me give you a general understanding regarding the history questions. So, in this paper, we had a total of 16 questions. Out of that, 8 questions came from modern India, 2 questions came from art and culture, and actually 6 questions came from ancient and medieval history. Let me tell you, compared to the previous years, the history has been on the easier side, and also UPSC have stick to the regular topics such as the modern administration, Gutman administration, the terms such as Aragata, which was previously asked in 2016. So the pattern has been the same, but then one difference that UPSC made is that in case of modern history, UPSC has this tendency to go over the Government of India Acts and all. But this time, there have been no questions regarding the Government of India Acts. UPSC didn't ask about the land revenue systems of the British or even the other empires such as Malwari, Jagirdari and all. So UPSC has skipped that. And also in case of ancient and medieval, UPSC used to emphasize much on Buddhism and Jainism and also regarding the literature. But this time there's no questions regarding Buddhism, Jainism and also the ancient literature. But apart from that, all those have been from the Civilsdaily micro themes. We have been very pinpoint to the questions and we have been able to predict the questions as well. So let's directly go to the history questions. So the history questions we are taking, I guess, set C or something. So the question starts from 11th one. So first one, consider the following statements regarding Rajaram Mohan Roy. Okay, so we know Rajaram Mohan Roy as someone, who's very passionate about the Eastern philosophy and also the Western philosophy. So the first statement, he possessed great love and respect for the traditional philosophy and systems of the age. Now, how do you tackle this question? Here, there is an extreme word known as great, right? But then, does it matter? No, because Rajaram Mohan Roy has great love and respect for the Eastern philosophy. Now, that is why he has written several books regarding Christianity, regarding monotheism. He has written several books, right? So therefore, if you remember the name of the books, or if you even know that he has studied in London, he has went to London to practice law and all, you can take this correct. So the first one is a very simple question. Now, second one, he desired his countrymen to accept the rational and scientific approach and the principle of human dignity and social equality for men and women. And this is also a very simple question, right? We all know that he fought against Sati because his sister-in-law was forced to do Sati. He is known as the father of Indian Renaissance movement. Therefore, we can also take this statement as correct. Therefore, in the first question, the answer is C, which is both 1 and 2. Now, the second one, now this is a very tricky question. Also, UPSC in this paper has decided to put 2 questions from 2 topics, okay? So, Mahatma Gandhi has been asked twice, and also 2 questions have come up from the non-cooperation movement as well. So, in this question, consider the following subjects regard to the non-cooperation program, which was actually launched by Gandhi in 1920. So, what does it say? Boycott of law courts and foreign goods definitely would be there, right? We have seen a lot of bonfire, and we have seen a lot of people, boycotting the law courts and all. So therefore, 1 would be correct. Observance of strict non-violence. Now the word strict is actually an extreme word here, but then it was actually launched by Mahatma Gandhi, right? So definitely strict non-violence would be there. And it was also the reason that due to the incident known as Chauri Chaura, where the police people have been killed and violence have took place, Gandhi decided to close the movement. Therefore, observance of strict non-violence would definitely be there. But then, what about the third option? The third option here says that retention of titles and honors. Okay? But then what did the non-cooperation program actually say? It said that people should actually surrender the titles and programs. Okay? The program said that the people should surrender the titles, and UPSC he has given that the people should retain the titles. Therefore, the third statement is incorrect here. And the fourth one, establishment of panchayat for settling disputes. Now, let me tell you, if there was a boycott of law courts, then how would they settle the disputes? It would be through alternative dispute settlements, right? And what is the alternative dispute settlement that Gandhi have proposed? It was basically the establishment of panchayat courts. Okay? So Gandhi proposed panchayat courts against the English law courts. So therefore, 4 is correct, 2 is correct, 1 is correct. Therefore, the answer is only 3. Now moving on to Aragatta. Now Aragatta, as all of you know, it is a PYQ. It was something that UPSC asked in 2016. But then UPSC did not ask about it very detailedly. UPSC just asked what does the term Aragatta relate to. But in this question, all the options are related to irrigation, right? So there would be a confusion in regard to what Aragatta related to. So let's try word deconstructing. So what does the word Ara refers to? Ara basically refers to spokes. Okay? Spokes of wheels and all. S-P-O-K-E-S. So Ara basically refers to spokes. And Gatta basically refers to port. Okay? So Ara basically refers to spokes. And Gatta basically refers to sports. And what is that single option that has both Gatta and also spokes? It is option B. And let me tell you another method. Which do you think 2 options are mostly similar? Which one do you think are most similar here? UPSC has this tendency, right? Wherein 2 identical options are given, UPSC, one of them tend to be correct. Okay? So what do you think are most similar here? You can see earthen pots here. You can see earthen pot here as well. So even in case if you have confusion, you could actually go with option C or B or C. So in this case, Ara means spokes, Gatta means sports. Therefore, option B is the answer here. Okay, I hope everyone is clear. Now, this is a fairly tricky question. Okay, a question regarding the chronology or even the ancient rulers. This is from the Pallava rulers, right? So, who among the following rulers in ancient India had assumed the titles Mattavilasa, Vichitrashita, and Gunabhara? Okay, 1 second. Okay, Mattavilasa, Vichitrashita, and Gunabhara. Now, let me tell you that this is a very factual question, okay? If you don't know the answer to the question, you can actually skip that. But let me tell you another case. Is Simhavarman very famous? No, right? Is Simha Vishnu very famous? No. Then, would they have so many names? Or would we need to study about them? Let's have a think about it. Simha Vishnu and Simhavarman are not very famous. Therefore, they wouldn't have many names and many titles, right? So, therefore, we can eliminate option B and D. But then what about Narasimhavarman and his father Mahendravarman? Narasimhavarman, as you know, is actually called Mamalla, right? He's called Mamalla because of his fond for wrestling, right? He's known as Mamalla. And the term Mamalla is not written here. It's called Mattavilasa, it's called Vichitrashita, and it's called Gunabhara. Now, since the term Mamalla is not given, we can actually go with Mahendravarman. Okay? Or even in this case, you can take a 50-50 chance, okay? Because Simha Vishnu and Simhavarman we have eliminated. So the answer would be definitely between Mahendravarman and Narasimhavarman. You can take a guess. So the answer is A, but even if you have taken a guess, you could have taken between A and C. Okay? So Mahendravarman is known as Mattavilasa because the word Mattavilasa Prahasan is actually a book written by or a play written by Mahendravarman. Now, Fahian, you know, even in the Civilsdaily micro themes as well, one of the most important topics that we have told you to discuss is regarding the travelers. So this is a very fairly simple question. In ancient history, we mostly have only 3 travelers. First one is Megasthenes, second one is Fahian, and the third one is the most famous Huan San. So it's something that you all know. So Fahian came during the period of Vikramaditya or Chandragupta II, and he actually wrote the book Puyuki. Okay, so he actually describes about the Chandalas. We know about we know about the Shudras. We know about the very poor condition of women from the book of Fuyuki written by Fahian. Therefore, the option is B itself. So these questions were very simple when compared to geography and other subjects. Yeah, so let's move on. Now, even the 16th question, I don't think anyone would have made it incorrect. So, who among the following led a successful military campaign against the kingdom of Srivijaya, the powerful maritime kingdom of the state, the Malay Peninsula? Now, there is only one person in history who actually did that. His name is none other than the Rajendra Chola. He was the son of Rajaraja Chola. He basically defeated Srivijaya because of that. The Cholas were actually trading with Chinese. So, in which route did he went through? He went through the Malacca and also the Malay Peninsula. The Srivijaya Empire was always attacking his ships. So that's the reason why he went and invaded the Srivijaya kingdom. So therefore, the answer is definitely Rajendra Chola, who also went to the Ganges, who defeated the Palas and also got the name Gangaikonda Cholapuram. He constructed the capital Gangaikonda Cholapuram as well. So definitely C, Rajendra Chola is the answer to this question. Now with regard to 17th one, now in case of ancient history, we always tell you to focus on the locations, right? So we tell you to focus on the Paleolithic sites, Neolithic, Mesolithic, Megalithic, and we also tell you to focus on what? The Mahajanapadas and the capitals. So we don't tell you to focus on the rivers. But let me tell you, if you know where these Mahajanapadas are, and if you know the basic, the drainage of India, you would be able to crack this question. Okay. Now, where is Asmaga? Asmaga is the southernmost Mahajanapada, right? So Asmaga is situated on the state of Maharashtra. Does Godavari pass through the state of Maharashtra? Definitely, right. Godavari actually originates in the state of Maharashtra. Therefore, Asmaga, Godavari flows through Asmaga. Now, where is Kamboja? Where is Kamboja? Kamboja is the westernmost or the northwestern Mahajanapada, right? So it is actually, Kamboja is actually situated in Afghanistan. Okay. Now, which river do you think is the name of Vibhas in modern sense? So Vibhas, now Vibhas would definitely be an ancient name, right? So try to compare with it a modern name. So Vibhas can be Bias, right? It's almost a synonym like. So Vibhas is basically Bias, and Bias basically flows through Punjab, right? And Kamboja is situated in Afghanistan. So basically, there's no relation between Vibhas and Kamboja. Therefore, the second statement is incorrect. Now, what about Avanti? Where is Avanti situated? Avanti, if you have seen Bahubali and all, you know, Mahishmati was one of the capital of Avanti, right? So it's basically in Madhya Pradesh. And where does Mahanadi flow through? Mahanadi basically flows through Odisha, right? So basically, Avanti is situated in Madhya Pradesh. Mahanadi flows through Odisha, therefore there is no connection between the two. Now, what about Koshala? Where is Koshala? Koshala is almost in the central UP, right? And Sarayu, we know, flows through Ayodhya, right? And Koshala is also situated in Ayodhya only. Therefore, Koshala and Sarayu basically flows through Koshala. Therefore, 4 is correct and 1 is correct. 2 and 3 is incorrect. Therefore, the answer is B, only 2. So, therefore, UPC, you know, if you knew about the locations, you could have actually tackled this question. You don't need to study the rivers as such. Now, what about the 18th one? Let me tell you, this is one of the difficult questions. Usually, you know, the Buddhism questions or the Jainism questions have been difficult in case of, or the literature ones are difficult in case of ancient and medieval history. But in case, in this year's paper, this is one question that is fairly a bit difficult. So we all know Vishnu Digambar Paluskar is someone associated with the Gwalior Gharana, right? He studied under the school of Gwalior Gharana. But then what does UPC ask here? The UPC doesn't ask you under which school he studied or under which school he practiced all those. What does UPC ask here? UPC basically asks the first Gandharva Mahavidyalaya. Okay? The first Gandharva Mahavidyalaya. Now, what does the Gandharva Mahavidyalaya means? It's basically the first school to teach classical music. Okay? So, Gandharva Mahavidyalaya is basically the first school in India to teach classical music. So, it was started by this Vishnu Digambar Paluskar. In which place? It's fairly consuming, okay? Now, most of you would have given Gwalior because Vishnu Digambar Paluskar was a product of Gwalior Kirana. But then the answer is D, Lahore, okay? Let me tell you, even if you are given Gwalior, it was a very good guess. But then, unfortunately, the answer is Lahore here, okay? You know, UPC doesn't usually ask about the music, you know, puppetry and all those things. But then here, UPC have asked it, unfortunately. Now, the 19th one. Now, this is a question came from the micro themes as well. Usually, we tell you to focus in case of ancient history, we tell you to focus on the Mauryan and also the Gupta administration. And this is a very simple question regarding the Mauryan administration, right? So Pradeshika, Rajuga, Yukta is basically the district level administration. They are basically the district level officials. Therefore, directly we can go with answer B, the district level officials. Now, the 20th one, let me tell you, this is the second question regarding the non-cooperation movement, okay? I actually wonder, you know, why don't UPC diversify the topics? But in case of modern history, 2 questions from Gandhi and also 2 questions from modern non-cooperation movement. I don't know why, maybe the 100th year of something, I don't know. But then it was supposed to happen in 1924, right? The 100 years. So consider the following statements regarding non-cooperation movement. So non-cooperation movement happened in 1920, 21 and 22. And it was shut down after the Chauri Chaura incident. So what... So the first one, the Congress declared the attainment of Swaraj by all legitimate means was to be its objective. Now, what do you think that could go wrong here? UPSC could have given the Congress declared the attainment of Purna Swaraj, but then Purna Swaraj is something which happened in 1929, right? Okay, Purna Swaraj is something we actually did on the Lahore session. So therefore, Swaraj is actually correct here. So the Congress declared the attainment of Swaraj by all legitimate and peaceful means. Legitimate and peaceful would be correct because Gandhi was leading it. Therefore, he would have been emphasizing on non-violent means. Therefore, the second statement, first statement is definitely correct. Now, what about the second one? It was to be implemented in stages with civil disobedience and non-payment of taxes on the next stage only if Swaraj did not come within a year and the government resorted to repetition. Now, let me tell you, this is a question which is very hard to guess, okay? Because there are multiple facts here. Only if Swaraj did not come in an year, maybe it can be 5 years, maybe it can be 10 years or something, and the government resorted to repression. So they can, maybe such a clause would not have been there. Gandhi would not have mentioned that. But then let me tell you, this is an exact statement which UPSC have taken from the India Struggle for Independence written by Bipin Chandra. So Bipin Chandra in his book have mentioned these exact words. So UPSC has taken from it. Therefore, the second statement is also correct. Non-cooperation movement actually said about this. It was actually decided in phases, where in the first phase meant only with civil disobedience, and the payment was taxes was taken for the next stage, and it had two conditions: if Swaraj did not come within 1 year, and also government resorted to repression. So it was planned on different stages. So that was the first 10 questions of history. We'll go through the 6 more questions. Let me tell you, the paper was bit lengthy, okay? If you look at the geography questions, almost all the questions have 3 statements, whether they're explaining or not. So it required a lot of thinking. So most of you wouldn't have, time to go through all the 100 questions in the third round or even the second round. Yeah, the polity questions that we were discussing, this is the controversial one, the 56th question. Now, this is actually a funny question. Usually UPSC doesn't ask a question like this, but then it requires a certain calculation, imitating the CSAT paper. So, yeah, where is the question? Okay. Now, moving on to modern history once again, the 71st question. So, sedition has become my religion was a famous statement by Mahatma Gandhi at the time of. Now, what does sedition mean? Sedition basically refers to going against the government, right? So, the first person to, to get punished with regard to the sedition law was Bal Gangadhar Tilak. He was actually sent to the jail for 6 years for, saying things against the government during the first Swadeshi movement. So, sedition has been my religion. Now, under which instance do you think Gandhi would say this? At what time did actually Gandhi resort to sedition? Sedition is basically going against the government. It's basically breaking the laws, right? Sedition is basically breaking the laws or going against the government. So, which do you think did Gandhi break the laws? In the Champaran movement, Gandhi did not break any laws. He actually protested against it, the Tinkatia system. But then, sedition can be directly related to the salt law, right? So, the British had a salt law. But then what did Gandhi do in 1960? He conducted a march. He conducted a 240 kilometer march from the Sabarmati ashram to the Dandi. And he actually made salt. Now, that amounts to sedition, right? So therefore, you can actually go with option B, because this directly amounts to sedition because he broke law at the time. Now, this is one of the, most simple questions. I don't think anyone would have made it incorrect, right? If you have made it incorrect, you need to, okay, leave it. The famous female figurine known as Dancing Girl was found at Mahajanapada is definitely made of bronze, right? It's there in the Delhi Museum, as I said in the previous session. It's actually very small, okay? Even I was actually surprised to see the same. When you look at the pictures in the NCRT, you might feel that it's like actually, this much or even 1 meter. But if you actually seen it, it's actually this much, okay? It's actually only a 3-inch figure of the dancing girl. So regard to 73rd one, who among the provided legal defense to the people arrested in the aftermath of the Chauri Chaura incident? Now, this is actually a very factual question. If you did not know the answer to the question, you could have skipped that. But then you could have actually eliminated some options, okay? Let's regard to option C. Now, who was Saifuddin Kichko? You must have heard his name in a different context altogether. Now, Saifuddin Kichko was arrested during the Jallianwala Bagh movement. Not during the Jallianwala Bagh movement. He, Saifuddin Kichko and one other guy was basically arrested. And it was due to this arrest that people, went to the Jallianwala Bagh to protest against it. So Saifuddin Kichko was actually associated with the Jallianwala Bagh movement, not the Chauri Chaura incident. But then Chittaranjan Das can be an answer. Madan Mohan Malviya was also a lawyer and his associate was Krishna Kant, so that can also be an answer. Muhammad Ali Jinnah was also one of the most famous lawyer at that time. So option C is something that you can eliminate, but in case of option A, B and D, you would have to take a wild guess. Here, you would have to know this question factually. I don't think there's any logic to it. Therefore, the answer is B, Madan Mohan Malviya and Krishna Kant. Okay. It was a difficult question compared to the other modern history questions. Now the 74th one, subsequent to which of the following events Gandhiji, again a question regarding Gandhi, who consistently opposed untouchability, Gandhi actually opposed untouchability and all those other things in the previous time, right? For his eradication from all the spheres, decided to include the upliftment of Harijans. So what do you think is the answer? You can actually comment in the comment section. What do you think is the answer? So, after the civil disobedience movement, Gandhi actually retired from active politics, right? So after the civil disobedience movement, Gandhiji actually retired from active politics. And then what did he do? What did he do? He actually began working for the upliftment of Harijans, right? Harijans is a word which Gandhi used for the scheduled caste people, which basically means children of the god. So basically, the Gandhi-Irwin agreement is related to the civil disobedience movement, wherein, there were among the 14 demands, 11 demands were actually met by the British, but regarded to execution of Bhagat Singh and other two things, the viceroy at the time, Irwin, did not agree to. So it is directly related to the civil disobedience movement, not to the upliftment of Harijans. The arrest of Congress leadership at the time of quitting the and all came in the 1942, right? Harijan movement came in the 1930s, right? So we can eliminate option 3 as well. Promulgation of Government of India Act 1935 doesn't have any relation with the Harijan movement. So what is the Pune Pact? Pune Pact is the act wherein Gandhi and Ambedkar agreed not for the reserved seats, but not for separate electorates, but for reserved seats for the scheduled caste people in course of the Central Legislative Assembly and also the provincial assemblies as well. So Pune Pact, after the Pune Pact is where Gandhi retired from active politics and actually set out to, uplift the scheduled caste people in the country. Okay. So therefore, A, Pune Pact is the answer. And with regard to the 75th question, which is the final question in case of history. Now, let me tell you, this is a question which UPSC asked in 2024 as well. So what did UPSC ask in 2024? Among which of the following things, I guess papaya was there. Okay. Papaya was one of the options there. So UPSC actually asked how many of the above are actually endemic to India. And one of the options was papaya. So papaya were introduced by the British, right? Therefore, you could have eliminated papaya in 2024 as well. So such and such question UPSC asked in 2025 as well. So among this, let me tell you, papaya, pineapple, and also guava was basically introduced by the Portuguese, okay? None of the crops were introduced by the Portuguese, the Dutch, or even the British. All these crops were introduced by the Portuguese. Therefore, here, all 3 is the answer. So let me tell you, history questions was comparatively simple. It all came in the lines of the micro topics that we have discussed. Only 2 main questions came out of syllabus. One is regarding the musician and the Lahore Gandharva Mahavidyalaya, and the other regarded to the 2 Gandhian questions and also the 2 questions related to the non-cooperation movement. Apart from that, almost all the questions were, almost easy to moderate. If you had the knowledge to that, you could have easily cracked it. So now I invite Sakit. So Sakit sir will actually discuss the polity questions from now. So I hope all of you did your history part and also your art and culture part very well. Yeah. So thank you everyone. Yeah. So Shikhar sir, the history questions, there were not any surprises in case of history. Most of the things came in from the micro topics discussed in our academy. So we were actually bang on regarding the history topics. Yeah.
Great. Thank you, Srijay,
Yeah.
for that amazing analysis.
Yeah.
No controversial questions here.
No
right?
controversial questions in case of history. Yeah.
Perfect. So, guys, coming back to our central point, right? We've been getting a lot of comments around overlap with what students have studied here. What should their approach be now that so many questions are from peripheral topics, right? So I wanted to circle back again on PYQs, micro themes, right? And they become your anchor. If you don't, so the question here is not that are we getting exact questions, right? The question is that without these anchors, it's you'd the idea is that without these anchors, you would be lost completely, right? PYQs, if you look at PYQs, isotherms and
Yes, sir.
Aragatta is
Aragatta.
again a term that
Yeah, Aragatta, papaya are all questions from the repeated themes from the PYQs.
PYQs, right? Governors, all the center state bodies, all those are micro themes. So, if these things are constantly in your head, if you are circling around these topics, around these themes, the chances that you will get a question right increases. Let's say you don't have these benchmarks or you don't have any anchor, then you are studying everything and you are trying to justify yourself that okay, something from here can come, I feel this is important, something from here can be asked, right? So following a structured approach, micro themes, PYQs ensures that you define an undefined problem, you create borders around it, right? So don't look for like very precise 100% matches, right? The first level match is a theme level match. The second is obviously, if the flavor of the question is similar, if the framing, if, the essence of the question is similar. And the last level is when, the options completely match, right? So getting all these three right is very difficult. It's going to be it's an impossible task, right? So let's come to, from history, let's come to polity. And polity has been something where every question we had to repeatedly revise, right?
Right, sir.
Saket sir? So every question we had to repeatedly revise. In fact, in our previous video also, we had said that in polity, when it comes to polity, वो ऊपर से बहुत easy लगता है, right?
Feel good factor
Feel
बहुत
good.
है.
The moment you come out of your center, you'll feel like I have gotten all of these questions right. ये सब questions मेरे familiar ही थे. But when you sit and think carefully, when you have Google, then you realize कि अच्छा 3 option में से second option जो था उसमें minor detail change कर दी गई because of which it has become incorrect, right? So a lot of these things happen with polity, and that has been the case for years.
Yes, sir,
right?
absolutely.
So you have to be very detailed when it comes to micro themes. I think polity में तो आप लोग कुछ और करो ही नहीं. Micro themes में ना और detail में जाते जाते keep all your PYQs in front of you, right? जितने भी गवर्नर के questions आए हैं सारे आप सामने रखो, and उसके over and beyond आपको क्या पढ़ना है, एक चीज ना आपको उसी के ऊपर ही बिल्ड.
अगर आप सारे क्वेश्चन भी लगा लोगे तो एटलीस्ट यू विल बी इन अ पोजीशन टू एलिमिनेट ऑप्शन. तो वहां पे मतलब आप कभी लूज नहीं कर रहे हो. पीवाईक्यूज पढ़ के भी, माइक्रो थीम्स पढ़ के भी जा रहे हो तो आपकी कंसेप्ट एनहांस ही हो रहे हैं, वो कभी बेकार नहीं जा रहे.
Yes.
राइट? तो दैट्स द पर्पस सर इज आल्सो सेइंग कि माइक्रो थीम बेस्ड पढ़ो. एंड ऑफ कोर्स वी हैड टू री-रिवाइज आवर मॉर्निंग थिंग आल्सो बिकॉज़ इनिशियली जो लगता है वो था नहीं जब हमने भी डिटेल में देखा. एंड वी कैन टोटली रिलेट एग्जाम हॉल में क्या हो रहा होगा. फील गुड फैक्टर है, मार्क कर दिया. अब एग्जाम हॉल में जैसे वो गवर्नर वाला था, अभी हम डिस्कस करेंगे, एक क्वेश्चन गवर्नर वाला है जिसमें रैटिफिकेशन की बात हुई है स्टेट लिस्ट वाले में, स्टेट वाले में. तो अब कोई भी एग्जाम हॉल में होगा उसको लगेगा गवर्नर भी तो वही फेडरलिज्म का एक इंपॉर्टेंट पार्ट है. वो टिक करके आ जाएंगे, ठीक है, बट वो एग्जैक्टली 368 का प्रोविजन याद आना एग्जाम हॉल में कि वहां गवर्नर का ऑफिस मेंशन्ड है या नहीं, आई थिंक हम मेंटर से भी गलत हो सकता है, ठीक है। ये फील गुड फैक्टर है, ठीक है, वहां पे बच्चे को लगेगा देखो सब सही हो गया, बट घर आके उसको लगता है अरे यार ये तो कहीं मेंशन्ड ही नहीं है। एंड पॉलिटिकली बात नहीं होती है, लीगली देखते हैं पॉलिटी, लीगली जब पॉलिटी में आंसर नहीं बनते तो फिर वो बुरा हो जाता है।
So definitely the point that Saket sir is also trying to say is that आपको फॉर्म में होना ना थोड़ा जरूरी है। ये क्वेश्चंस ऐसे कॉन्सेप्चुअल नहीं है कि anybody can solve it, like people who have read polity also, ये इतने डिटेल्ड क्वेश्चंस हैं, they'll have to refer back, even the subject matter experts they'll have to, ये ऐसे उस तरह के कॉन्सेप्चुअल क्वेश्चंस दिए जो आप 2-3 बार पढ़ते हो। लिबर्टी के बारे में आपकी डेफिनेशन थोड़ी पूछी उन्होंने, इक्वालिटी के कोई इंटरप्रिटेशन, इस तरह की चीजें नहीं पूछी उन्होंने, right? So they've asked detailed things, they have some level of conceptual details, but आप ये recall नहीं कर पाओगे एग्जाम में, right? So you have to be informed, you have to be circling around these topics.
So we pretty much debated amongst mentors also with respect to polity कि ये सही आंसर लग रहा है, ये सही आंसर लग रहा है, and there were valid points coming from mentors also in our in-house discussion. So we can totally feel what polity has been, right? So let's start with the questions. With 51, you would see about ordinance, it's very clear. It's Article 123. An ordinance can amend any central act. You would have seen previous also banking regulations have been added through ordinances, and these are the concepts that you would know from Lakshmikant also and your basic foundation classes as well. And you would know that ordinance cannot abridge a fundamental right. It's Article 13, right? It cannot go against Article 13. That's very, very clear. And of course, ordinance can come in retrospection. This is also when you read ordinance from any source, Lakshmikant or your foundational classes, you would be able to solve this question very clearly. This was fairly an easy one. With respect to 52, yes, we would categorize this in a difficult category because, you know, it's very difficult for us there in the exam hall to remember whether Arunachal Pradesh is named. So कैपिटल भी कई बार याद नहीं आती है यार, बहुत बेसिक लगता है, बट कैपिटल भी मिसअप हो जाते हैं। अगर आपने ईटानगर याद कर भी लिया है तो वो ईटा फोर्ट पे था या नहीं, और ऊपर से फिर नेशनल पार्क का भी कंफ्यूजन है। दैट सी द स्टेट हैज 2 नेशनल पार्क, आपको नाम दफा याद होगा, दूसरा वाला शायद याद नहीं है, ठीक है। तो ये डिफिकल्ट कैटेगरी में आ जाता है बिकॉज you have less time and you have too much to recall, right? So Arunachal Pradesh sahi hai ye answer. Arunachal Pradesh is named after the fort and the state has 2 national parks. Nagaland also, so you would know that Nagaland did come up with a constitutional amendment act 13 जो 1962 में आया था, but again it needs a heavy recalling और आपको बहुत factual revision अपना करना पड़ेगा इसको recall करने के लिए। Otherwise, Arunachal Pradesh, Nagaland और त्रिपुरा ये तीनों ही statement सही है। त्रिपुरा was initially a part of C state before it became a centrally administered territory with the reorganization states in 1956 and later in 1972 it attained the full independence. तो ये तीनों ही statement सही है, but very difficult to recall this in the exam hall. I would have safely probably इसको मैं बाद में अपने करने की कोशिश करता अगर मैं तीसरे राउंड में आता वापस, या मैं इसको छोड़ भी सकता था for a safer side. फिर 53 बहुत आसान है because see, you would often read in the news also that National Security Council की मीटिंग हुई, पीएम ने चेयर की, तो ये सब बहुत कैबिनेट सेक्रेटरी वाले लेवल के काम होते हैं, इसमें कॉन्स्टिट्यूशन का कोई रोल ही नहीं है। विद रिस्पेक्ट टू जोनल काउंसिल ऑल्सो यू वुड रीड द सेम काइंड ऑफ मीटिंग्स, बट आप इंटर स्टेट काउंसिल आप जरूर देखते हो कि ये कॉन्स्टिट्यूशनल बॉडी है, तो ये चीज बहुत क्लियरली हो जाती है यहाँ पे, एंड इसका आंसर भी फिर वही है जो आपको दिख रहा है, 1 ओनली, ठीक है। विद रिस्पेक्ट टू दिस क्वेश्चन, the Constitution of India explicitly mentioned that in certain spheres the governor of a state acts in his or own discretion. यहाँ पे भी हमने काफी डिस्कशन किया इंटरनली मेंटर्स के साथ, बिकॉज ये एक्सप्लिसिट वाली चीज में मॉर्निंग में भी आपको बताया था, जो हमारा फर्स्ट इंप्रेशन था उसमें एक्सप्लिसिट ऐसा लग रहा था कि इज इट द कॉन्स्टिट्यूशनल टेक्स्ट या वो इम्प्लिसिट या इम्प्लाइड मीनिंग थ्रू से जुडिशियल इन्वॉल्वमेंट। बट बाद में अगर हमने जब देखोगे आप इसको 163(1) में यू वुड सी एंड में जाके एक वर्ड डिस्क्रिशन लिखा हुआ है, एंड एज वी सेड दैट पॉलिटी बहुत लीगली जाती है कि कॉन्स्टिट्यूशन में क्या लिखा है, कॉन्स्टिट्यूशन क्या कह रहा है, तो बहुत कई बार इम्प्लिसिट मीनिंग हमें लगते हैं कि इसके वाइडर कॉनोटेशंस हैं, बट ऐसा पॉलिटी में होता नहीं है। तो पॉलिटी में हमेशा पहली चीज आप हमेशा दोगे जो लीगली दिख रहा है आपको, और ये 163(1) में यू वुड बी एबल टू सी दिस कि यहाँ पे डिस्क्रिप्शन का वर्ड यूज है, और डेफिनेटली दिस बिकम्स द राइट आंसर्स। और लक्ष्मीकांत में भी क्लियरली लिखा हुआ है कि इनके पास राइट है टू रिजर्व सर्टेन बिल्स, राइट। फिर दूसरा वाला तो हमने मॉर्निंग में भी डिस्कस किया था कि बिना गवर्नर के लूप में हुए ये हो ही नहीं सकता है। तो ऑफ कोर्स वन बिकम्स द राइट आंसर इस पूरे केस में। 55 पे आप आ जाओगे, यू वुड सी सेपरेशन ऑफ जुडिशरी फ्रॉम एग्जीक्यूटिव इन पब्लिक सर्विसेज ऑफ द स्टेट। ये बहुत इजी क्वेश्चन था, ये डीपीएसपी है, आर्टिकल 50 आपको पता ही है। वैल्यूइंग एंड प्रिजर्विंग द रिच हेरिटेज ऑफ आवर कंपोजिट कल्चर, ये भी फंडामेंटल ड्यूटीज है, ये भी उसके बाद ही अगले आर्टिकल में ही है। एंड ये तो आपको फंडामेंटल राइट्स पता ही है, आर्टिकल 24। तो ये भी बहुत फेयरली इजी क्वेश्चन था, बहुत डुएबल था। तो अब तक सोफार मेरे पास सिर्फ एक ही क्वेश्चन आया है जहां पे मुझे थोड़ा डिफिकल्टी फेस करना पड़ा था, वो था विद रिस्पेक्ट टू अरुणाचल प्रदेश, नागालैंड एंड त्रिपुरा, ठीक है, बिकॉज इसमें बहुत एक्टिव रिकॉलिंग थी एंड हाई चांसेस बहुत लोगों से ये शायद सॉल्व नहीं हुआ होगा। बट विद रिस्पेक्ट टू यहाँ पे भी अगर 163(1) नहीं भी याद आया होगा तो आप लेजिटली श्योर होगे कि अपने लक्ष्मीकांत में पढ़ा होगा कि गवर्नर हैज अ लॉट ऑफ डिस्क्रिशनरी पावर, राइट। और हम क्लासेस में भी पढ़ाते हैं, तो वो चीज आप क्लासेस भी अटेंड करते होगे ऑफ कोर्स, तो आपको याद आ जाता है। हाँ, यहां पे अगर हम आ जाएं विथ रेफरेंस टू द कॉन्स्टिट्यूशन ऑफ इंडिया, इसको वी आर फ्लैगिंग एज अ कॉन्ट्रोवर्शियल क्वेश्चन, क्योंकि देखो ये चीज है कि with the reference of the Constitution of India, if an area in a state is declared as scheduled area under the 5th schedule, because this question explicitly mentioned about the 5th schedule, तो अगर हम इसी context में देखें, then the state government loses its executive power in such areas and a local body assumes total administration. No, never, it doesn't happen. State government does not loses the entire power anytime. The union government can take over the total administration of such areas under certain circumstances on the recommendation of governor. अब वैसे तो अगर हम इस कॉन्टेक्स्ट में देखेंगे तो भी यूनियन गवर्नमेंट कैन नेवर टेक द टोटल एडमिनिस्ट्रेशन, बट इन सर्कमस्टांसेस अगर प्रेसिडेंट्स रूल की बात हो रही है, इमरजेंसी की बात हो रही है, अब वही है ना, आप पॉलिटी में कितनी भी बाल की खाल निकाल सकते हो, दैट्स द ब्यूटी ऑफ दिस सब्जेक्ट। तो वहां पे अगर आपको लग रहा है कि नहीं 5th शेड्यूल तक ही क्वेश्चन पूछा है तो मुझे 5th शेड्यूल के रेफरेंस में ही आंसर देना है, जो कि मुझे भी लगता है, सिविलसडेली की टीम को भी लगता है। बट ऑफ कोर्स आप पॉलिटी में बहुत इंटरलिंक करते हो, बहुत वाइडर कॉनोटेशंस ले आते हो। अगर आपको कहीं ना कहीं ये लगा होगा कि नहीं इमरजेंसी के सर्कमस्टांसेस में, प्रेसिडेंट रूल के सर्कमस्टांसेस में तो यूनियन का पूरा कंट्रोल हो ही सकता है, उस केस में देन हम इसको कॉन्ट्रोवर्शियल फ्लैग कर रहे हैं। बट हमारे हिसाब से दिस हैज टू बी बोथ द ऑप्शंस आर रॉन्ग। यहां पे हमारा ये वाला फंडा है, ठीक है। देन विद रिस्पेक्ट टू 57, we discussed this in the morning itself. It's again a very difficult question to deal with. It's not easy to recall such non-constitutional bodies और इतनी सारी ऑर्गेनाइजेशन until unless आपने ये न्यूज में कहीं पढ़ा है, राइट। तो ये तीनों ही आप चाहे एलिमिनेट भी कर लेते, ये तीनों ही इसका पार्ट नहीं है, ना नेशनल ऑटोमोटिव बोर्ड, ना कॉयर बोर्ड, ना नेशनल सेंटर फॉर ट्रेड इंफॉर्मेशन, ठीक है। ये तीनों ही इसका पार्ट नहीं है। ये भी डिफिकल्ट कैटेगरी का क्वेश्चन था। You could choose to come back to it again or you could also choose to leave it. ठीक है? Then consider the following statement under the Constitution of India. List one union list is in the 7th schedule. Extent of the executive power of a state, conditions of a governor rule. अब मैं यही चीज की बात कर रहा था। अब आप देखिए, अगर आप ये क्वेश्चन को देखेंगे for a constitutional amendment with respect to which of the above ratification by the legislature of not less than 1/2 of the state is required before presenting the bill to the President of India for assent. अब एग्जाम हॉल में अगर बहुत लोग होते हैं ना, तो वो गवर्नर को भी मार्क कर देते, कंडीशंस ऑफ गवर्नर रूल को भी मार्क कर देते। ये तो बहुत एक्सप्लिसिट क्लियर है कि जब यूनियन लिस्ट, कंकरेंट लिस्ट, स्टेट लिस्ट की बात है तो आप ये करोगे, क्योंकि स्टेट लिस्ट इफेक्ट करती है स्टेट्स को, राइट। एक्सटेंड ऑफ एग्जीक्यूटिव पावर इन अ स्टेट में भी स्टेट को इफेक्ट होता है डायरेक्टली, तो आप, और ऑब्वियसली वो मेंशन भी है 368 में, राइट। बट कंडीशंस ऑफ गवर्नर रूल, अगर मुझे इसका वाइडर कॉनोटेशन निकालना है इन एन एग्जाम हॉल, आई और एनीबडी इन दैट प्रोसेस वुड मार्क ऑल 3 ऑफ इट, ठीक है। बट यही पॉलिटी की ब्यूटी है। आपको लगेगा कि पॉलिटी बिल्कुल सही करके आ गए हो, और घर आके जब आप बुक खोलोगे फिर आप कहोगे अरे 368 368 में मेंशन्ड है कि कौन कौन से आर्टिकल, कौन कौन से केसेस में आपको रैटिफिकेशन ऑफ स्टेट चाहिए, उसमें यू वुड नॉट फाइंड गवर्नर्स ऑफिस एनीवेयर, और फिर आपको थोड़ा डर लगने लगेगा, राइट? तो अगेन वी फील फॉर यू, बिकॉज पॉलिटी एज अ सब्जेक्ट, आपका लॉजिक गलत नहीं है, आपका पॉलिटिकल अंडरस्टैंडिंग बहुत अच्छा है, बट इट ऑल्सो योर लीगल अंडरस्टैंडिंग ऑल्सो मैटर्स। तो यहां पे इसी स्टेटमेंट को देखते हुए वी हैव डिसाइडेड कि इसमें जो है 1 and 2 ओनली वुड बी द करेक्ट ऑप्शन, नॉट दी ऑल 3 ऑफ देम, बिकॉज ये हम अपडेटेड आपको भेज देंगे। इसमें 1 and 2 वुड बी द करेक्टेड ऑप्शन, नॉट ऑल 3 ऑफ इट, बिकॉज कंडीशंस ऑफ गवर्नर ऑफिस डजंट अप्लाई। ठीक है, तो एक तो ये वाले पॉलिटी के क्वेश्चंस हो गए, और कुछ 2-3 और नीचे आ गए थे। दिस टाइम इट डिड नॉट कम इन द एग्जैक्ट ऑर्डर। एक टाइम पे ऐसा होता था कि पॉलिटी सब एक साथ ही आती थी, हिस्ट्री भी सब एक साथ ही आती थी, बट अब ऐसा नहीं था इस साल। सब 87 के अराउंड यू वुड सी some questions in polity also coming. Correct. So on the dissolution of the House of the People, the Speaker shall not vacate his or her office until immediately before the first meeting of the House of the People after the resolution. ठीक है, ये स्टेटमेंट तो बिल्कुल ठीक है, आपको पता ही है स्पीकर के रूल्स 94 में आर्टिकल में। According to the provisions of the Constitution of India, a member of the House of the People on being elected as a speaker shall resign from his or her political party immediately. अब ऐसा कहीं लिखा नहीं है, ऑल्दो ऐसा एक्सपेक्टेड है कि वो कर दे रिजाइन, ठीक है, ऐसा एक्सपेक्टेड है, बट क्योंकि स्पीकर को नॉन पार्टिसन होना है, बट कन्वेंशन भी मान सकते हैं उसको, बट इट्स नोवेयर रिटन कि ऐसा होना ही चाहिए, हेंस दिस इज नॉट द राइट स्टेटमेंट, राइट? And the Speaker of the House of the People may be removed from his or her office by the resolution of the House of People passed by majority of all then members of the House, provided that no resolution be moved unless at least 14 days notice has been given to the intention of the resolution. ये बिल्कुल ठीक है, आपको स्पीकर के आर्टिकल में एग्जैक्ट वर्बैटम दिख जाएगा, राइट? तो 1 and 3 आर ओनली करेक्ट। सेकेंड, ऐसा एक्सपेक्टेड है, प्रोबेबली कन्वेंशन भी होगा, बट इट्स नॉट रिटन एनीवेयर, हेंस दिस इज रॉन्ग। ठीक है, with respect to this question, if a question arises as to whether a member of the House of the People has become a subject to disqualification under the 10th schedule, the president's decision in accordance with the opinion of Council of Union Ministers shall be final. नहीं, हाउस का सारा मैटर इज लुक्ड बाय स्पीकर या चेयरपर्सन, ठीक है, तो ये गलत है। और देयर इज नो मेंशन ऑफ द वर्ड पॉलिटिकल पार्टी इन द कॉन्स्टिट्यूशन ऑफ इंडिया, करेक्ट, ओरिजिनल कॉन्स्टिट्यूशन में नहीं था, बट जब एंटी डिफेक्शन लॉ बनाया तो हमने वहां पे क्लियरली पॉलिटिकल पार्टी का मेंशन किया हुआ है। तो दिस इज नीदर 1 नॉर 2, दोनों ही स्टेटमेंट यहां पे गलत हो जाते हैं, ठीक है। एंड प्रोबेबली या दीज वर द पॉलिटी क्वेश्चन। जीत सर, वुड यू वांट टू कम एंड जॉइन इन विद रिस्पेक्ट टू साइंस एंड टेक प्रोबेबली? So all the best students. I understand polity will give you that initial feel, and you probably might have done few questions wrong because in the exam hall you thought it was right, but I just hope that you have done absolutely correct in each and every question of polity. If you didn't, don't worry, I hope you have managed the remaining part in the other areas. Over to you, Neil sir, you can explain science and tech and probably the other areas.
So good.
Wait.
Okay, thank you.
Oh.
Okay, so science and tech was on usual lines only. Okay, there were like, easy questions, then some questions were moderate and some questions were difficult. So science and tech was on the regular lines. There was no surprise from this part, but yeah, some questions in defense were very factual. Let's come to the science and tech part. So here is the first question on the science and tech. Okay, so this is about what? Okay, so if you talk about the first question was on what? It was about the EVs and what? Basically, they asked about the alternate powertrain vehicles. So what are alternate powertrain vehicles? We usually know about the regular vehicles, which is on IC engine or internal combustion engine, which runs on basically your petrol or diesel. Everything apart from IC engine are called okay, ये वाला okay. Okay, so everything apart from petrol and diesel is considered alternate powertrain. So basically you had to know this definition of alternate powertrain. Otherwise you could not have solved. Other options are very easy. So EV, fuel cell vehicles and hybrid vehicles, all of them are alternate powertrain vehicles. So this question was about your understanding of the science and tech concepts. If we talk about the UAVs here, remove, okay, इससे ना, इससे होगा ना, इससे, okay. So UAVs have been in the news. Why? Because we saw what? In recent war, and also there has been guidelines regarding the UAVs. So they have been in the news in last 2-3 years continuously. So, but this question was on the easier side. This question was on the easier side. Why? You could have eliminated this. All. So usually this type of question in science and tech are very easy to solve. So we can say all types of UAVs can do vertical landing. That is not possible for all the UAVs. Similarly, automated hovering means, like loitering over a single place, like to do like basically spy drones and all. So that is also not possible for all the UAVs. Similarly, all the UAVs do not run on battery. We can see some run on the IC engine as well. Some run on the solar panels also. So this is also incorrect. All of them are incorrect. They are asking about the correct statement, but answer will be D, none. Similarly, here also. This question was also about concepts of science and tech. They are asking about cathodes. These are usually we study in the NCERTs. This question is generally from the NCERTs, anodes and cathodes. And this is related to, again, batteries. So if you see, they are asking a lot of questions regarding the batteries, EVs, solar. Why? Because of green technology. World is moving towards green technologies. Again, this question was conceptual. You had to know about particular cathodes, a particular material which forms the cathodes in batteries. So cobalt does, graphite is anode, and it is well known fact. Okay, if you knew this one only, you could have solved, but it was again tricky because options are tricky. Only one, only two, only three are given. Okay, then lithium and nickel. All three are cathodes, and this is what? Anode. Next question is, again plastics. Plastics are UPSC's favorite. Every year there is one or another question on plastics. Why? Because they are the pollutants. The pollutants is one of the most important micro theme which we usually discuss in our discussion in prelims classes. So plastics are important micro themes. So they are asking what? Many of them contain plastic. How many of them contain plastics? Car tires do, eyeglass do, and cigarette butts also do. So answer will be all three, and this one was also on the easier side, I would say, because you could do it with your basic intuition and basic knowledge as well. Now let's come to the next question. Again, this one, again, very nuanced question, and you should be knowing specifically about this process, coal gasification, and what are the use of the coal gasification. So basically, coal gasification was asked because certain ministry of, I think MNRE or some ministry, started a pilot project on this. I can't recall the exact ministry though. So ethanol is correct and urea is also correct. And if you know a little bit about the nitroglycerin, you could have eliminated this one because there is no role of coal gasification in nitroglycerin. So this one also, I would suggest on the moderate side. This question, again, if you see current affairs, totally current affairs, if you knew about it or if you have read about it, you could have solved it. Otherwise, it was not possible to solve because options are tricky. And answer to this is military weapons. These are the explosive used in military weapons. So basically, it was totally current affairs heavy. And next question is, okay. So next question I feel should be easier for you all because it was in the news a lot. Mahajana chip, and it was built by Microsoft, not Amazon, and it has been in the news regularly. Okay, so current affairs, there is like two sides only. Either you know it or you don't know it. So there is either it's easy or it's tough. There is no moderate section in current affairs part. So here it is like that only. And deep learning is a subset of machine learning. This is also true. So answer is C. Next question is with reference to monoclonal antibodies. So this question comes from Nipah virus, and in 2023 there was Nipah outbreak, and in Kerala, then this monoclonal antibodies were in the news. So in current affairs there are two sections. One is which is in the news in the last 1-2 years. And then there is contemporary issues, what we say. Contemporary issues are what? Which are in the news for last say 5-7 years. So this you could add in the contemporary issues because this was related to the COVID as well. In the COVID, we used monoclonal antibodies to cure patients. Okay, so they are man-made proteins. Basically, what are monoclonal antibodies? They are man-made proteins. Okay, to treat, they work as an antibody basically. They are given to the patients, so their immune system can be enhanced. So statement 1 is correct here. Again, this is very nuanced and very technical question. Man-made protein, they ask about, they stimulate immunological function due to their ability to bind specific antigen. This is also correct, but it is again very technical question, and it was in the news due to Nipah virus, as we discussed in the Kerala 2023. And this one I think was the easiest question along with that UAV. Why? Because of the wording. UPSC gives such questions in science and tech. No virus can survive in the ocean waters. This is totally incorrect. There might be some type of virus which can survive in ocean waters, and no virus can infect bacteria. Again, this is also incorrect. And no virus can change cellular transcriptional activity in host cell. Again, this is also incorrect. You just have to use your basic instinct and basic knowledge of questions like this. So answer would be none to this. Okay, again this question was little tricky and concept based. Change हो गया color. Okay. Statement 1, activated carbon. They are asking what is activated carbon. You have to know. Okay, so this was on the tougher side, and again activated carbon exhibits what? In this kind of question you have to take statement 1 as always correct. Why? Because if you see the options, there is no option for the incorrect option for the both statement. So here what? Answer would be statement 2 and 3 are correct, and both of them explain statement 1. So here we are talking about the activated carbon. And next question is,
So Deet sir, what's happening right now is that we have rank 3 coming.
yes, okay,
Right? Rank 3 would be also solving the paper alongside.
Yes.
Okay. So I think let's give the floor to him,
yeah, sure,
and we can really come up with another videos probably
Yeah.
tomorrow and day after, and we can do a detailed discussion on various other topics.
Yeah, sure.
Right? So students, we are giving the floor to rank 3. His live will be starting in few minutes, and you can of course learn directly from the ranker, right from the horse's mouth. Okay. So all the best. I hope your paper went well, and now you go ahead and listen to what rank 3 has to say about today's paper.
okay, thank you all.
Thank you.